The Last of the Mohicans, Chapter 10. Hayward plays a dangerous game. Actually, I'm a lucky fella, the singing master said, spinning around so that his old friends could get a close look at him. The Irreq have been so fascinated by my singing that they dress me as one of them and let me come and go as I please. Hawkeye threw back his head and roared with laughter. The thought of scrawny David Gamut prowling these woods disguised as a fierce Indian warrior was amusing indeed. However, David's reaction was far more humorous. Fighting back the tears, he shook hands warmly all around. I was beginning to think I'd never see you good people again, he said. Naturally, we're glad to see that you are safe, said the distraught Colonel. See how people push ahead? That's all I like to get my hair to, bro.
I didn't want to interrupt your reading. It was just a slight bump so that you know to be.
Naturally, we're glad to see that you are safe, said the distraught Colonel Monroe. But tell me, what has happened to my daughters? Cora has been taken to a neighboring tribe, the Delawares, I believe. All I know for certain is that they are allies of Montcalm. But they were not involved in the massacre at William Henry. What about Alice? Asked Major Hayward. The Irreq always separate their prisoners, sir. She is being held captive in the Irreq village across the lake. Then there's not a moment to lose, cried Hayward. We must set them free as soon as possible. It won't be easy, David told them. Their leader, Leonard Subtile, is possessed of an evil spirit that no power on earth can tame. Where is he now? Asked Hawkeye. Away, hunting moose. Then you must go, David, the scout said, and let the sisters know we are here. Our signal to meet again will be the whippoorwill's whistle. Wait, cried Duncan Hayward. I'm going with him. You? Exclaimed the astonished Hawkeye. Are you tired of seeing the sun rise and set? Look, Hayward argued. David is living proof that the Irreq can be merciful. Ah, but he has a special gift that pleases them. Then I, too, will wear a disguise and play a role for these fools. I am going to free Alice or die in the process. My mind is made up. Hawkeye knew only too well the dangers of such a masquerade, but seeing that Hayward was determined, he finally consented. Come, Major, he said. Chingachgook has many paints. He will make you look like a fool, too. Sit down on this log. All during the hour-long session, Hayward sat peaceful, perfectly still while the elder Mohican skillfully painted lines and shadows that transformed him into a medicine man from the Ticonderoga tribe. Ticonderoga tribe. Don't say that, this is for children. As Chingachgook stood back to admire his handiwork, the onlookers applauded appreciatively. Surely with your knowledge of French, with your woodsman's clothes, and with all the advice I have pumped into you, you are bound to succeed. Hawkeye said, slapping him on the back. Surely, God bless you, Colonel Monroe whispered as he, Hawkeye, and the two Mohicans watched this strange, adventurous pair make their way past the beaver's pond and into the Iroquois stronghold. A dozen warriors stood at the doorway of the first lodge as Gamut led Hayward up the hill in the twilight. The redskins stepped aside to allow them to enter. Suddenly, the major found himself standing in the midst of a large council chamber filled with fierce savages. Inwardly he felt his blood curdle in anger and rage, but he knew he must hide his feelings if he were to save Alice. Imitating David's example, he sat down on a pile of brush and remained silent. The Indians crowded around him, studying every aspect of his being with great curiosity. At length, one of the elder warriors spoke, but in the language of the Iroquois, which Hayward could not understand. "Do none of my brothers speak English or French?" he called out in simple French. When there was no answer, he continued, The King of France would be sad to know that none of his friends in this wise and brave nation can speak his language." There was a long pause, and finally the old man spoke in French. "When our Great Spirit talks to his people, it is in the Iroquois tongue. The Great Spirit talks to all people," said Hayward evasively. "He knows no difference in his children, whether the color of their skin be red or black or white. The Great Spirit has sent me, a man who practices the art of healing, to inquire if any among you are sick." There was a low buzz around the room, and Hayward could see the excitement on the faces of the braves. Perhaps all of Hawkeye's coaching would serve him well after all. Just as the Iroquois spokesman was preparing an answer, a high shrill yell, like that of a wolf, arose from the forest. All the occupants of the lodge dashed into the dark night to discover the source of the commotion. Hayward found himself lost in a throng of joyous, screaming men, women, and children, all bearing clubs and axes to be used in a brutal native ritual. An Indian brave, a prisoner of a returning war party, was standing at the heart of two lines formed by the savage villagers. His punishment was to run between these two lines. I can't pause. To the gauntlet, to run between these two lines of frenzied Iroquois and receive the blows of their clubs, tomahawks, axes, and knives. When the signal was given, the brave turned, and instead of running the gauntlet, he bolted toward the woods with loud shouts.
I kicked the weekend, you back your puppy. I kicked out your puppy.
Just wash your hands after you finish playing with them, before you put your hands in your mouth. When the signal was given, the brave turned, and instead of running the gauntlet, he bolted toward the woods. With loud shouts, his captors tore after him and dragged him back, beating, kicking, and punching him savagely. When he fell to his knees, unable to bear their torture any longer, they dragged him into the council chambers. Inside, the Indian stood by one of the posts that supported the roof, breathing hard after his struggle, but bravely maintaining his composure. In the dim light, Hayward was unable to disguise any of his features. While the council huddled in a corner, deliberating on the fate of their unruly captive, the women teased and taunted him. A wrinkled old hag strutted before him, waving her arms in the air and screaming insults. "Your skulls and mothers of deer," she said. "Your skulls are the mothers of deer," she said. Cackling loudly, "But if a bear or wildcat were born among you, you would flee in terror." When the Indian refused to respond, she flew into a rage and began to foam at the mouth. "We shall make you petticoats and find you a husband," she shrieked. The council had dispersed now. As the elder warrior approached the captive to announce their verdict, the old woman snatched a flaming torch from the wall and shoved it in the youth's face. He looked quickly away, and for one brief moment the eyes of Hayward and Uncas met and held. Although neither man flinched nor changed his expression, finally the young Mohican turned back to face his accuser and learned his fate.
Put him in the fire.